I've been watching how people reacted to the census, how Texas gained a few seats, California, New York lost a seat each. And people are acting as if, okay, the way it's going, because these Republican states seem to have gotten more congressional seats, that somehow that was a real negative for Democrats. And I want you to listen to Matthew Dowd because he has the same sentiment that I've had for quite some time listening to the data. And let's take a listen to it and we'll take it on the other side.
Matthew, we're going to give you 60 seconds of gloating time about Texas gaining 2 congressional seats. As I said earlier, New York, California, not so much. Talk about the political importance of your state and how great it is, especially when the power grid works.
Yeah, only when the power grid works. Ever been out of water and power for 5 days in the midst of that. To me, Texas is the best view of where the country is headed. As soon as Texas shifts, which is going to happen in the next election or two, to a purple state, and then ultimately Texas will become a blue state because of the demographics and what's going on in the suburbs, it fundamentally changes the nature of the country's politics because the Republicans have guaranteed themselves or counted on those electoral votes. But to me, the most interesting stuff out of the census, and many times in the media, as you know this full well, Brian, they have a tendency to concentrate on the noise and ignore the frequency of what's going on. 23 million Americans were added in population from 2010 to 2020. More than 90% of those 23 million Americans that were added are non-white. It's going to be either the smallest or the first time whites have dropped in population in our country. And so I take a different view of the census data. I don't think it's a net gain for the Republicans in this. They're going to lose a seat in West Virginia. They're going to lose a seat in New York. They're going to lose a seat in Illinois. That's net 3 down. That means they have to gain 4 more from the other states. And all of the population growth is among African Americans, Asian voters, Latino voters, and people of mixed race. All of the population growth is of non-white voters, and especially true in Texas.
And I want you to take a look. There's a graphic. Latinos exploding, Asian Americans exploding, black folk growing, and all the other races growing. And it's not that race definitely determines party affiliation, but when you have one particular party who is a party that's become nativist, a party that uses a whole lot of racial angst, then all or the majority of those from those other demographics, they won't by definition gravitate towards that party. Only the party that seems inclusive to them will garner their support. So in as much as we're looking at what gerrymandering can do, that in these populations that have grown, somehow the Republican states are going to be able to gerrymander those growths into another few seats. At some point, the population growth overcomes gerrymandering, and I think we are pretty darn close to that right now. Look at the results when you ask about what's your party affiliation. Yeah, if you take a look at Republican versus Democrat, it's astounding. It is time for us to start acting like the winners that we ought to be, as opposed to the fearful folk that we have from a party that has lost its soul. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.